everyone. Who in this room feels crazy today? And pull yourself out of the feedback loop so you can create space for that information to funnel.
Dedicated to the medicine that I last. My friends teach me your ways. I'll spend the rest of my days opening
Beautiful. Breath in.
Dedicated to the medicine. Grandma,
breath out.
Quickly blade, light up the fire and send out your prayer.
Breathe. So your relationship to the word envy is what? Be curious. Inhale. Exhale. Use the oxygen to fill up. The empty out carbon dioxide, which tells the oxygen where to go. Same thing with light and shadow. So as we move into this figure 8 shape, we work with tension, concepts of relativity, little shadow groups. Tell the light where to go.
It's the heart inside your body. So feel it's the heart, chin, arms forward. Maybe a little flick of the wrists. Arms wider. Maybe sounds.
Right. I actually I figured I'd have my heart out if we were talking. So I put a tank top on so we could have a nice little heart to heart. Taryn Toomey, welcome to InterEthers Interviews. I am excited and absolutely gobsmacked to be saying that. You are the creator and founder of the class, something that has become a daily practice of mine. That means a lot to me. And I suppose we'll start with what the class is. The age-old question.
The age-old question.
I'm sure you're tired. You might be tired of answering. You might not be tired of answering that question. What is the class?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. When I heard that I was going to be on this podcast, I had a different person in my brain. And when I was reviewing that it was you, I was so excited because I just love your presence and your energy. And it's really, it's something to note. So thank you for having me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. The class is a movement modality where we use repetition, sound, and self-inquiry. So you'll repeat a movement for an entire song. The students are invited to close their eyes. There's a whole series of things that are done that the facilitator guides you. That's somatic work, which has been part of the DNA of the class since the beginning, which I think was, it's 13 years ago since I started it, but I gave it a name 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago, the class, because I couldn't think of what to name it.
I love the name.
Thank you. My ex-husband who pushed me into it. And we kept calling it the class because people would say, where are you going? We're going to this class. And so it just came naturally. And Mark was the one that was like, you just have to call it that. And I didn't love his opinion at the time. So I was very resistant. Yeah. But so thank you, Mark Toomey. Yeah. So sorry, to get back to it. We use repetition, sound, and self-inquiry. So we'll repeat a movement for an entire song. You wait for the sensation to arrive in the body, and then the teacher will guide you in to start noticing your thoughts around the feeling. If you identify that feeling as good or bad or easy or hard or whatever it is, just become aware of it. And then you continue to track where that pattern shows up. After a while, the repetition builds the heat and the contraction in the body. And then when you feel like you want to bail out, instead, we invite you to make some sound. So, so it's moving that energy from inside of the body out in its most simple form. That's what sound is. And then self-inquiry, what came up? What did you notice? Notice what you notice. So this, it's not so much a workout where the teacher is going to be as much inspiring you by telling you what to think or what to believe or how to feel. It's more of the teacher engaging the student in their own personal experience of themselves. So it's nuanced and it's hard to describe because everyone has their own experience.
Oh, like a tangible example of a pattern that I had that changed for me was I started taking the class when you launched your digital platform. I'm a massive digital student. I take 99% of my classes online. I absolutely love them. It's about an hour for me to get to you, so it's super convenient. And I don't want to say this, but I will. It turns out I take the class every day, and it turns out to about $1.05 every day.
I love it.
For like the best therapy that you can get on the planet, it's $1.05 a day. And it's kind of crazy, but it's a really incredible thing if you want to practice at home and do it. But my pattern, because of my childhood, my background, there was a lot of silencing growing up. So I didn't realize this, but I grew up and getting into my adulthood being very quiet, not saying what I wanted to say, not trusting how I felt, and really not advocating for myself if something was wrong. I would get really quiet and just kind of clam up. And with the class, there's an element of sound. Let's just say if you're in a series of jumping jacks for a few minutes and you're really out of breath and you're really pushing yourself, you let some sound out, you let some steam out, you let some pressure out of the body. And for about 2 years of taking the class, I didn't make any sound. No sound came out at all. And all of a sudden, the sound started coming out. It started screaming out sometimes. Tears would follow with that release. Tears were a part of it before as well. And then in my life outside of the mat, I started saying how I felt. And I started slowly advocating for myself and really getting to know who I was, who I liked, what I didn't like, what made me uncomfortable. And I think that was the most important lesson that I've learned from doing the class is that you and all of the teachers that are a part of it provide a portal into the self, into one's self to discover who you are, where you are, who you want to be, where you want to go. So I'll always be grateful to the class for really helping me find my voice. And I just want to, the class for you started as a way for you to heal what you are carrying from your past. And I just want to share with you a picture of Mama Kia, who I know you have mentioned that she's very important to you. And she was also very important in the creation and the foundation and the seeds of the class. So let's just put her beautiful face up here. Do you want to tell us about her, what she meant to you, and how she influenced the class?
Yeah. Well, Mama Kia, obviously her name, Mama, she was a mama to many. I met her through a woman, Alison Sinatra, when we were going down on a retreat to Peru in my 20s. And it's interesting because I still have this resistance around talking about my relationship with her because I never would want it to sound like, she was this super close person that I grew up with for 20 years and she influenced the way I was. I had only met her through 4 times. And all of those times I would spend a chunk of time with her. But we always stayed in touch and she was just the embodiment of unconditional love in the most real form, the most honest form of that word. I've never experienced anything like it, and you could feel a purity that was in her, that was all based in her heart. She had adopted 25 children down in Peru and created a children's home down there. She has a very long story before that, how she ended up in Peru. But I remember when I met her, she just had these green eyes and we just connected right away. And that first night, we spent the night in the living room by the fire and we, for some reason, just could not stop laughing. And anyone that knows me knows that like I just am a very lighthearted person in many ways. And I think when you find energy that's similar and that can just kind of collide with that laughter, you start laughing and they start laughing. And there's just this beauty of it. And that's one of the first nights that I met her. And she was very impactful for me for a few reasons. The center that we went to, the retreat center, was the first time that I sat with grandmother, which is ayahuasca plant medicine, and it was a very life-changing experience for me. And I ended up working with plants for about a decade after that. So I think that the combination of meeting her, understanding this like real embodiment of unconditional love, and you just felt so safe and so loved in her presence, and I never really experienced that in a mother figure. I have a challenging relationship with my mom, and I think that it just brought up this energy in me that I needed to see. I always felt, and I still work on it often, but the very like trackable patterns at this point. I've done a lot of parts work around it, but that I am the problem, that I have done something wrong and I can't figure out what it is, and that I'm disposable. So that kind of combo deal, I think, was interesting when I met Mama Kia because she just loved me. And I remember one day, she only had one little mirror down there in the bath, above the sink. And that was it. So you weren't looking in mirrors all day long and you're just in the land. And I just felt like there was a real palpable sense of healing going on without realizing it. In reflection, I know, of just being able to like take out all of the distractions. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have social media and like, I think we just had Blackberries. So it wasn't as much of like the technology piece, but I was really in a kind of a deep self-hatred loop for my whole life. I still work through it a lot, and try to find that voice when it comes up and remother that part, right? It's like the little kids are inside and they're screaming, and these young parts that had some pretty traumatic experiences. And I think for Mama Kia, I sat down one day, the first week that I met her, and I was just really emotional about like this kind of like self, kind of this mean part of me that would always lacerate myself. And I was talking to her about it and I was crying. And she just said, like, looked me so honestly in the eye. I mean, literally, I still get chills when I talk about it. And she just said, honey, you have to understand how beautiful you are. And she wasn't talking about appearances. It was like this kind of, I believed it, and she wasn't talking about anything other than my heart and my essence. And I just felt seen and comforted. And we just always stayed in touch. And then I went back and forth and back down to Peru and would work with the plants and the land. And it just left such an impact on me, in so many ways. I mean, I don't know how deep you want me to go into it all, but I think that's really what it was. She was just love.
Mhm.
She really was. And a lot of people loved her, and she loved so many that way. And it felt like she had this capacity for it that, and she was just so silly. She had every one of her children's hair that she adopted, she got into like that friendship bracelet situation, their hair tied into her hair, and it had grown so long after a while that she was always swinging that thing around and like peeing on it. And like, it was just so funny. Yeah. And I kind of, she was like a mother figure, but she was like a long lost sister. And, and she definitely, in my opinion, died of a broken heart. I remember the last time I was down there, she had said that one of her children had just passed away. She was in the kitchen of lupus, and I think she was just really heartbroken um, about her passing. But also, I think that at some point, when you're holding that much space for that many people on the regular, you know,
Sure,
it's
sure.
just capacity. And then she got cancer and died a few months after that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting when you say when you're holding a lot of space for people because it seems like you hold a lot of space for people with the people that you work with and every time you finish a class, like obviously everybody wants to have a word with you and check in, see how you are. And I suppose that's why we see you in the class all the time.
it's true.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a funny experience for me because if you're in the room, you could feel what was just happening around the other side, right? That there's an energy that is not that I'm trying to perform or make people feel a certain way. So it takes a certain amount of letting effort go, right? I'm not trying to control the room's response, but it does take some work to not be in another's experience as the facilitator and want to change that person's experience. So if somebody's not dropped in or somebody's not breathing or they're looking around or they're not doing these kind of core pieces of the practice, I know that it will be a less potent class. And that potency doesn't mean like let's dive deep into the process of grief necessarily. It's like the expansion of how joyful you feel that day or how like the ability to notice when something's released. It's like oh wait, I'm not with that anymore, and some days that's there, but if you're not in your body and you're not aware of how you're feeling. So all that is to say is that it takes effort for me to allow myself to like take in what somebody is. It's my perception of what they're going through, right? I don't know unless I talk to them, but and not want to be like, come on, get in there, like come on, so
Well,
sometimes
I mean,
that's
you
yeah.
generally do. You generally do.
Yeah.
Not
Well, that's part of the teaching, right? That if you see that and it really activates you, that you don't look at the student and say it. It's not toward anybody, but you can use what you're observing to help the collective. So you give a little bit of space from it, and then maybe a minute or two later, you'll say, okay, let's drop in, right? But you're talking in your head to what you had just picked up, but then you use it for the room so nobody feels called out. So that for me takes energy. It all takes energy, right? And being able to trust the practice enough is also effortless, but energy, right? It's like this interesting balance. So when I come out of the room, oftentimes people want to come up and sometimes people are in town from other countries and they have stories they want to share and I want to be there for them. But there's something that happens for me where I get very dysregulated quickly with that.
Mhm.
And I feel like anxious and I can't really hold that conversation. I try, but sometimes I feel like that is actually one of the more exhausting parts of
Right.
teaching. You teach and then you leave, and then you're kind of like, then you got to go in for another layer of holding a space for somebody to share something, which is beautiful. And I love hearing the shares, but you have to hold that space again. And it's just like, it's I think that I prefer that though, than really having somebody hold it for me. I've had that issue my entire life. I don't really have a mentor. I mean, Mama Kia was kind of the only person that I had in my life that was like an elder figure that I felt like I could go to and could give me just some good sage advice and I trusted. And it's still, I have a few of those people in my life that are friends, but um, I don't I don't probably seek out as much care that would probably be valuable for me. You
Mental
know,
health,
yeah,
mental
yeah,
health, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think I pick up so many mental notes within the hour that I spend in the class. And I think when you're talking about when you finish a class and you walk outside, there's a, it's a very, I close my eyes. My practice has changed so much from day one.
Mm.
I took your class. Your class was the first class I ever took. I took it for vanity reasons. I heard about the class. I heard it was a great workout. My sister said to me, you should take the class. They move around and scream. You'll love it. And I was like, okay. And I remember the first class, I cried. There were tears. And my children at the time, it was COVID, homeschool. And I remember after that first class, I went immediately to 9 o'clock to homeschool the kids. And I remember just being calmer than the day before. And noticing that, because I was like going back and forth to rooms to like different kids. And I remember just having, like, just being more calm. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And so from that point, from 2020 up until now, it has really become a check-in.
Yeah.
How's my anxiety? How are the problems that I have in my life? How am I dealing with them? Am I dealing with them correctly? Am I being healthy about it? I'm letting off some steam. I'm getting in there to let off some steam and go tackle whatever I need to tackle for the day. There's like a running joke in my house. If I'm snippy, like if I'm a little snippy, my kids actually say to me, did you do Taryn Toomey today?
I've heard that sentence a lot. There's a lot of families that say, "Did you not do the class today?"
It kind of irritates.
It's pretty funny. I'm the same way. I'm like, I haven't, I'll say to people if I go to the office, like, I haven't moved today.
Right.
That's like just kind of the, like, just so you know, I'm a
Right.
little kind of like, and I do think that's a lot of what it is. It's like letting the sound is that releasing the pressure cooker, right? And a lot of times that's what people say, like, oh, you scream and you do burpees for 8 minutes. And when one's brain hears that, it's like you're either like, oh yeah, give it to me, or like, not for me. But you have to, it's a practice that you have to do to even understand, because like you had mentioned, it took you 2 years to make sound. And that is what I hear often. And sometimes what happens is people come and they're like, not for me, but they don't stay with it. Like, what is that experience? Why do I feel uncomfortable? And then feel the choice you have to, and then play around with it. Maybe I just like, right? Just a little bit. And then sometimes what happens is, like, underneath that sound, there's a little pocket of joy, or there's a little pocket of grief, or there's a memory of something. But until you really, it's like it's excavating the inside of the body in a way. And a lot of people have that experience with sound, making sound, whether they felt silenced, like you had mentioned, or I had a woman come up to me that came in from another country, and she said that she's been doing online classes for years, and that she had a lot of children. And I'm just not saying how many, because I don't want to give away too much of her story, just out of respect. But she said that she's never made a sound, and she had six, I should just say, six unmedicated childbirths, and she never made a sound. And she felt that she wasn't allowed to, or it wasn't part of, the structure that she was in, to make sound. And she said, I haven't made sound until I started coming to your class. And she was crying, telling me this. And she's like, I had no idea how much of all that I was holding. And that really is, at the end of the day, what it is. Like, the body remembers. It's our brain that tells us, or the subscription to, like, some sort of story or, construct that somebody's told us that we have to be in order to be liked or loved even. It comes from childhood, right? Children, like, shh, 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 quiet, 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 so it is a great release. And oftentimes you have, for me at least, a lot of, revelations that come up, things I had not thought of before. I really use it as exactly what you said. It's like a daily check-in. I do the class every day as well. I happen to really like the movements and and the series of it all. I do cross train though too. I do believe in like weightlifting, and I love yoga. That's like my first love. But the check-in and the getting the mind into the body so you can listen to your heart, right? So you're really turning from like top down, bring the mind into the body, and then allow the heart to communicate with the mind. And when you make better choices, because you're connected to yourself, you likely have better relationships. You likely impact those people by being a good role model of how to communicate and how to step away when you need a minute and still stay in your compassionate center. And that's what I think is so beautiful about the class is that you work on yourself first, and then you watch your relationship to yourself change, and then you watch your relationship to other people change. And it's like this beautiful impact that is, it's only really possible if one is willing to step up to that plate. And so sometimes people move away after the first class. They say not for me, and then sometimes people stay and they're like, why? And that's when I think it gets really good.
Push and pull through the whole thing. In the past 2 years, my practice is consistent, like it's here to stay. That's it. But I really want to point out that we talked about like 10 minutes of burpees. You and all of the facilitators give everyone complete agency to lay down on the mat the entire time if that's what you need to do for yourself. There's 3 different variations of a burpee that you could choose for yourself. There's like 2 or 3 different variations of usually every move that you guys do, that we have the choice to choose a move, stick with it, and just take a look at what's going on inside of your mind, inside of your heart, inside of your intuition. Kind of pay attention to what's going on inside of yourself. But it's a really great way to shed some bad habits and pick up some good ones. But like you mentioned before, you really have to take a look at yourself, the good parts and the bad parts, and say, okay, this is what I have. This is what I have to work with. I have these things I love about myself. I have these things I hate about myself. But let's bring them together and, kind of move forward. The class is really, and you've said this from time to time, it's a love story. Really from you to you, it's a very heart-centered practice. Has that been like the anchor since the beginning?
Yes. It's always been about the heart for me. I mean, since I was little, I remember I was reading a bunch of my journals when I was little to my oldest daughter the other day, who's been in a passage for about a little over 2 years now. Just some hard stuff that we've been navigating. And she doesn't believe that I kind of struggled in middle school or high school. And so we started reading them the other day, and it was actually hysterical. The stuff I was talking about, it was still the same thing. It was like the moon, music, like what phase the moon is in, music, like 13, talking to God and talking about my heart. And it was just like nonstop. And there were a lot of like, as the journals got older, like boys, 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 boys. It was like Duck, Duck, Goose Game. It was like the names were so funny. It was like, Joey, my heart is so broken. I'll never. And then it was like Mike. And like, it just went on. So it was really funny. But yes, it's always been about the heart. That's where I feel most of myself. And the idea of it being a love story is really that the truth of love is that there is no love without grief, right? The deeper and longer the love, the deeper and longer the grief. So that's the energy of these cycles, right? When we're feeling grief, it's the end of a story. It's not necessarily just a human, it could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be whatever, but the grief is just the end of the story. And if the denial of the grief is what keeps us stuck, right? And there's stages of it, and we could go through all of that. So in a whole, long spiel about it. But at the end of the day, when it's present, if you can just allow yourself to be with it, then when the love is there, it's the same energy. So you're creating capacity to be able to feel the spectrum of these things. And the cardiovascular movements, it's strengthening your physical heart. I've always brought it through the lens of that it's a workout. And when I first started the class, that's really, it was the class piece through strength was what it was. And then there was a few changes that happened within the business over the years. For a while, it changed the class by Taryn Toomey, which I still have like a recoil about it, but I get it. But that's probably my own stuff. I shared once that I was walking down the street, and people will come up, especially in the neighborhood, that take the class and just want to share a little bit about the class. And often my girls are with me, and uh, so I think that that's nice for them to experience sometimes because I am on the road a lot and I'm traveling a lot, and I just think it's nice that they understand that there's an impact of the work. And then once I was walking, I ran into somebody and somebody said, "What is the class?" Oh, she teaches the class. And the other person said, "Oh, what is the class?" And I said, "Oh, it's a movement modality." And she said, "Oh, you teach it?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And Letty goes, my older daughter goes, "You created it, Mama." And I was just like, yeah, she's like, "You did, you created it." And it just struck me because there's something in me that like, it doesn't, because it wasn't a formula or an idea I had that I wanted to make into some sort of public class, but it was just this natural evolution of it. I think it doesn't feel like there's like a win or a lose or a success or it's doing good or bad. It's like, as long as the heart's there and as long as the sharing is still there and the connections. And even on retreats that we do, we've heard of so many people meeting on retreats and being friends for the past decade or starting businesses together. And like, they just, there's such a beautiful energy inside the work that the class brings people together, but there's so much more. And I really do think it's about the heart.
The,
And
um,
it's, yeah.
the class is like the gift that keeps on giving. I've met incredible people at the class, that have become friends, whether they're teachers or students, that have rallied around me through really dark times. This entire community of really well-intentioned, good people that want the best for you, just kind of pushing you along, in life's journey. So you can heal yourself at the class. You can meet some pretty incredible people that will inspire you and encourage you to, do whatever your heart's desire. I would not be sitting here opposite you if it weren't for the class. I wouldn't. The class is truly, we're never completely healed. We're always a work in progress. But I have, my heart has evolved and healed more than I could have ever imagined, more than I ever thought it would. And my belief in myself has become more steady. And I was in Amanda's class, who I love. She has such a beautiful energy. I love the fact that I don't know if she does it anymore, but she'd like read a card before class.
Yeah.
And I always took it as like what direction my life was going to go in.
Oh, yeah. Like, you're going to tell me everything. We see what we look for.
Totally. Totally. So I was in her class and I had this idea for like some sort of interview kind of thing. It was the first time that I had an idea and I actually wrote it down. And it was the first time that I had an idea and I actually started putting it into action. And the name actually is something because of what you said a lot during COVID You were like, I have no idea how we're talking to each other. I have no idea how you see me. You're like, we're in the ethers, you're in the ethers, I'm here, but this is somehow. And that was the first time I heard the word ethers. And I was just like, what, like what is that? And it means the sky, it means the space in between things. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then I wrote down in my little journal, InterEthers Interviews.
Love it.
And the class that you created, the heart-driven, the spirit-driven, the community, the music. Oh my God,
Yeah.
the music. I joke and say, what music cave of amazingness you go to play what you play? We're on our backs, we're doing sit-ups, and it's Leaf Volleyball and it's elegy, and my eyes are closed, and I feel everything that I'm feeling. And do you guys pair these incredible musicians with this movement? I'm gonna play a little game.
You
I'm
know,
gonna name.
Leaf,
Go
Leaf,
ahead.
Leaf, I always say his name
Did I
incorrectly.
say it wrong?
No, you said it correctly.
Oh, I
I
did.
I have this thing in my brain with names. I know a lot of people do too, but it's just like maybe I'm dyslexic or something. I don't even know, but I switch letters and I can't say the names. Um, but do you know that he sings one of his songs is called Into the Ethers?
I
It's
did,
so
and I and
beautiful.
I and I
I love
used,
that, by the
yeah,
way.
he's so incredible, so thoughtful, so in his own spirit, so who he is. And when you listen to his music, you literally puts you in a trance. I'm gonna name an artist and you describe them in one word.
Okay, okay, okay. I
A
like
complete bomb, we'll edit
I
it
like it. Start getting a little rap on. Yeah.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. Okay.
Nick Mulvey.
Hot. I'm just kidding. It just came out.
That's it. That's it. We're sticking with it. Rupines.
Beautiful.
Jim James.
I want to say hot again.
That's okay.
And I'll say sexy. No, uh he is so
Sexy.
yes, and he's so connected to source. I mean, he just brings that through. I've seen him perform so many times. Um, yeah.
Speaking of connected to source, you seem to me really connected to source, very thoughtful. You say what you mean. Your intentions are very pure, well thought out. Uh, what is the source?
God,
Hmm.
universal, where we return to, where we came from. It's very, very challenging for people that are very intellectual and in their mind to want to grasp it. But look at how long science and spiritual leaders have come together to try to hack it out. Um, I do feel I have a very strong connection. I think we all do. And it's just how much we pay attention and we practice sitting and being quiet and listening and asking for help. The idea that you can ask God, and I say God in a non-organized religious way. Um, I used to say divine. That's also the felt sense of what I feel, but I think I've more often been just saying God because if it triggers people, then okay, that's okay. Why? And it's not like, oh, it's this structure, believe in this, and also like, don't do this or do that, or you're going to go to hell or heaven. It's just that um, if you can pause when you're in some sort of imbalance and come into your center of your heart and with compassion and ask for some support to be able to love the situation, uh, give love, not even with words, but and then move from there. I think it changes your entire life. There's times when I feel like I don't have a connection. I say that sometimes, like I feel so disconnected. I feel like there's no signs or there's nothing that's shifting for me. And I was speaking to this woman, Lisa Evans, and she said, sometimes you just get a break.
Mhm.
God just says, we don't need you today. And I loved that because instead of like, it's almost like a mindset switch that it's not that you're not always connected. You can always go in and feel into that space because that's really what one has to do is listen instead of the talking and the talking and the talking and the talking. It's like, and if you can just keep listening and listening, and then you can listen until you can start to intuit a little bit of like what that energy is or what that person is saying, especially if they've left their body, it's like, but the structure of the mind gets so, I'm going to tell you why this is right or wrong. So it really does take a lot of faith and consistency, and curiosity. That's what I think, if you're really shut down. And I've always been, my mom, I grew up mostly with my mom. My dad left us pretty early when I was in third grade. That's a whole dynamic that I'm using left as a very simplified way to say it. And my mom was practicing, she would chant every morning, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho, and she would chant in this way that kind of alarmed me sometimes because there was this like look on her face that I thought she was like channeling anger. It's hard to describe. I was little, right? I was in third. I mean, she started when I was born, and I remember before my parents got divorced, my dad went in and grabbed her gohonzon, which is the scroll that you literally put incense in your mouth. When you open it, you don't breathe on it. It's like the sacred scroll text in the middle that you connect your gaze to when you're chanting. And he threw it off the back deck, and that's like the summary of their relationship. He was just always like, you're nutso, you're talking to some whatever. And my mom was quite imbalanced in her ability to regulate herself. She kind of has a lot of unexpressed rage that comes out pretty quickly. So my mom was a little bit of the scary one to me, but she was chanting all the time. And my dad was the one that was more kind of organized, at least in his like presence, of not being unstable in his kind of mood swings, for lack of a better word. So I was often confused, like, is that really bad? Is the thing that my mom's doing make her in this structure that she's has a lot of issues regulating herself? And should I go with my dad and like completely shame anything that has to do with these connection points? And I remember feeling that a lot when I was little. And I just would put all of it aside at night and I would pray. God, please help me. Please help me to love myself. God, please help me to do better tomorrow. And it wasn't a particular God. It wasn't Buddhism. It wasn't, Catholicism. It was just, I remember always just feeling this sense um, of having that safety of that connection forever. And then when I started working with the plants too, that's when it just kind of skyrocketed into the way where I would just connect to other fields of consciousness and like
Yeah.
realize that there's so much more than we realize in these third dimensional beings, and there's so many ways to connect too, there's breath work and there's all different kinds of like, but yeah,
There's there's so many, and I think I just wanna, there's so many things that the class offers beyond the 1 hour traditional aspect of it. There's yoga classes. I took your sculpt class yesterday for the first time. It was like Arnold Schwarzenegger meets.
it's hard to teach, I'll tell you.
It was really, really, really good. And I thought to myself, wow, this add a half an hour of cardio and you have like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am workout in there. But there's sculpt, which is weight based. There's retreatments that you guys organize, which is the class on the road, whether that is in, exotic places like Ibiza, or you just had one in Massachusetts, I think, with JC at Canyon Ranch. Um, So they're all over the place. They're in the States, out of the States, but it's, I suppose, like an intensive, a little bit of a deep dive into yourself for 5 days. And then you also offer 90, which I love, the 90-minute retreatments that everybody's been doing.
Yep.
Back to breath work. Never heard of breath work, never did breath work. I did my first one-on-one with Sophia on Zoom, and I had a very radical experience. I was alone we're on a computer. I thought it was just going to be something like hokey and weird and nothing, like no effect. Like I just thought that was my anticipation. And it's two sharp inhales in and one out, right? It's
Yep. Well, there's different kinds, but all in and out of the mouth. So, right, belly, chest, exhale.
right. So we did that for 30 minutes to about 5 songs. And I had a blanket on, I was laying down, I had some water in case I got dehydrated. But towards the like fourth or fifth song, I saw a lot of my ancestors. I saw a lot of the people that I lost in my life. I was very close with my grandmother. She was sitting right next to me. I was sobbing and shaking.
Mhm.
And continued to do some breath work with Caleb that comes to the class as well. But all of these different kind of, would you call breath work like a modality? So all of these different modalities that you offer that provide access to the self. And it all goes back to this, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? The world is your oyster, you know, get ready and go get what you want. Um, do your best, just do your best. Uh,
Yeah, and the breath work, I love breath work so much. I will, I'll use it all the time when I need to when I'm just feeling a little stuck or there's some sort of creative block or I need to clean out underneath the bed. It's just like for me, and it's become enjoyable now where I'll go into it and that you'll click in. I mean, this specific kind of breath work that you're referring to there's different names for it. Some people are allowed to call it holotropic breath work and some people didn't train in it. So, but they're doing the same thing, which is the inhale, exhale, all out the mouth. There's different styles different people do. We did one over in Ibiza on the retreat this last time in the afternoon. That was like 2 hours. And she's just inhale, exhale. But the places and spaces that you can go and what you can access through breath work when it's with a good facilitator and you're willing. I mean, it's breath work, right? It's work, but it's worth it. And I talk about connecting to God. I actually start laughing at the end because I'll just bring my attention to the third eye with my eyes closed and I'll just sit there and it's just like orb, so the holotropic is psychedelic breath work. So you're bringing yourself into these psychedelic states without using any sort of plant or medicine of any sort. And it allows you to break through the veils of where we are in the third dimension.
I was telling my children when I came home from doing breath work, I was like, I told them like what I saw, and they were like, are they like putting something in the air? They're like, Mom, you're saying like you're hallucinating. Like that makes no sense.
Isn't it fun that the way the world lives, right? Everybody's just like, oh, you're crazy. And that's why one has to have their own personal experience of the imprint of it in them in order to understand. It's like really hard to describe to somebody who's been told that, especially when we're little kids, we're playing with fairies and we know this structure, right? And we're told like do or don't, and you get shamed when you're in eighth grade, and then you stop doing that. And like that's the stuff that we're unpacking a bit, is like the times that we didn't speak up or the memory that we're still living that was in the past. It's like in the body. But breath work to me really accesses those nodes And it's a great, great reset. But it's breath work. I mean, you're
Right.
going for it. If you want to, but it goes back to the piece that we were talking about earlier with like sound and people that'll come for a class, one class, and like it's not for me, and that's totally reasonable and understandable. But sometimes it's not for me, and I'll do one more,
Mhm.
right? Because sometimes it just doesn't resonate. And sometimes I've, met people that will say, I came to your class 10 years ago and I was like, this lady is batshit crazy. And I came back 2 months ago and like, wow, I get it. So it's
Mhm.
just different points we are in our own journey that are we're open to it. But I think like the class and breath work, that combo to me is I just love it.
I think, you guys always mention the resistance aspect of it and what are you resisting? And what I've found within my own practice is it's really personal. Like, why am I resisting this? Like, why is this hard for me? Why am I struggling so much? Maybe there's something on the other side of it. The practice for me has been something that I kept coming back to. It definitely was not the easiest. You're facing yourself. You're really coming face to face with yourself every time you step onto the mat, coming face to face with yourself. In Sophia's class, I always take the 9 o'clock class, like whatever the 9 o'clock class is, that's where I am. And this is a few years ago. Sophia was the Tuesday 9 o'clock slot. And Sophia's class can be really challenging. And I remember getting gassed in her class a lot. And I remember shutting my computer. And I remember saying, who the hell wants to do burpees for 12 minutes? Not me. And then one day, it's Tuesday again, it's 9 o'clock, that's the schedule. And I caught myself. I was like, what am I resisting here? And I started taking her class on a regular basis. I started finishing it. I started finding a lot of joy in that exertion. And I got to the other side of what I was resisting in her class and found a lot of joy on the other side of it. Um, so to anyone that's thinking about taking the class, I would just say, go, try, keep going back, see what you find, keep at it, and you will be pretty amazed at what you discover about your own self. Because I've been, that. We just
Yeah.
have 6 minutes left.
Yeah, and you're also what we're doing in there is we're practicing our own ability, right? It's like, so if we don't, it's the willingness component is the number one piece, and
Yeah.
it's hard work, it's fun work, it's we could fill in the blank with any word, but it takes some willingness and some desire for something to change, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Oftentimes, like if we're in a burpee and we're doing something for a really long time, and after a while, I just drop in, and it's like the whole thing of the class is that we're practicing tools,
Mhm.
right? You want to bail out, can you make a little sound? Can you just do one more? But the consistent piece is the breath, right? If you're breathing the whole time, that's when you're present and you're able to hear. And if you can't breathe, then you modify because you're not looking to blow your nervous system out and like spin out, right? But there's all these pieces in the class that bring the student back in of the silence and the hands on the body. And but so sometimes when it's just like going and going, I just eventually start laughing.
Mhm.
And it's so like you just start laughing because it's so ridiculously hard and you're just doing it and the room's doing it and you're doing it and you're like, it ends up just being really funny.
Yeah,
And people are growling and the more like the room just like is completely like, sometimes I look around and I'm just like, wow, wow. I mean, this is a beautiful room of people just completely just being free, you know?
I had an incredible experience in your class. It was a few months ago, and we had just finished burpees, and I still am holding a lot of grief. I had a major loss in my life in January. So I was in your class, burpees finished, and I was crying to myself. I didn't want to like upset the apple cart, so I was just quiet to myself, holding myself, and I was shaking a little bit, but I was just trying to keep it like, you know, whatever, just move through it. And there was a woman behind me, and all of a sudden I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I didn't know her. And my eyes were closed, and I didn't turn around, and I just put my hand on her hand. 30 seconds, we moved on to the next thing. And after the class, I kind of looked up to her and I said, thank you. And she said, I've been there. And I think, you've brought a lot of your experiences. What have you been? You've been so honest and generous with what you share, your struggles have been. And there's such a human component to this wonderful exercise, heart space method that you've created, that I think just makes it so incredibly special, so much different than everything else. Not that it's a comparative thing, but it's really a place where you can go, be accepted, heal, and try to create a life, that you're happy and proud of.
Yeah.
And I can't express enough my gratitude to you for doing that, how honest you are. You're just you're a great human being.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's so beautiful. I had goosebumps all over my body. That's when you know spirit's near. And I had an experience, I think it was 2017. When I first started the class and I started training teachers, and we were still at the kids' dance studio, there weren't these incubators to like show up like they have now, which is so amazing because people can dream and have a room that's not going to get sound complaints. And I was really churning it out for a long time. When we first opened the studio, I was teaching 8 classes a week.
Wow.
In the middle of, I'm divorced now, but I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in my marriage. My ex-husband, who is an incredible man, was an addict, and I was really just deep in it, very much in like, what do I do? And I started going to Al-Anon meetings and I started seeking out some help and was very slowly trying to like build my own strength to figure out like how to help him in the way that I could without getting my own self burnt, which is what was happening. And I remember I was just in like, I taught 2 classes back to back, and I went into pigeon pose at the end of class after everybody left, and I was crying because I was just like, I'm like
Mhm.
boss than I ever have been. And when I sat up to move to the other side, I was down there for like 5 minutes. There were 2 students that had just sat in meditation in front of my mat and were just sitting there like for me. And I mean, those experiences are so powerful because the exchange is there, but you don't have to get caught up in somebody else's words. It's not like, what do they say? What are they supposed to say? It's just like, I'm here. It's such a powerful energy. I'm so happy that you experienced that. But that really is, those are all the unspoken things that go on when their heart's open. Grief, your heart is wider open than it's probably ever been in grief. And I think sometimes we think that it's closed, but it's really just, it's so open. Yeah.
Cracked open. And I think I lost my husband January 2nd. He had a really severe problem with alcohol. And, sadly, uh, he lost his battle with that and was so stressed in life, supporting the whole family, carrying the weight of everyone. But, you know, January 2nd happened, and I really went to my mat to grieve, to practice. to stay intact for my kids. And it's 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 really a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space for anyone that wants to come in and get access to beautiful community, beautiful hearts, beautiful people, a good workout, a path closer to yourself. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And you get your ass kicked
you do
and,
get your ass kicked.
and
You
your
1,000% get your ass kicked.
ass doesn't hang down on the back of your leg.
Such a good,
It's checking a lot of boxes.
good, it's such a good workout. Has it always been the same? I know we're
Be a little bit harder, honestly. I think like back in the day.
I'm 10 minutes over. Are you okay for that? Okay. Has it been the same since?
Yeah, I mean, some people say like, that it got a little soft over the years. And sometimes when I'm like, we're just going to go straight up old school, it's like you just like squats for 8 minutes, jump, there's just like, there's a level of like, for me, in the intelligence of the whole physiology, like sometimes harder is not better, right? It's like my classes, I think, have changed in the way where I'm wiser in the way that I'm using silence and like slow retentions, and we use that to contract even more. So then there's a deeper release. But I think it used to be pretty just straight up fire the whole time, when I first started teaching it. But I was also in my own, confusion and loss of, I don't know. I was just, I had an upbringing with really no parenting and lived on my own, and then was in this situation with somebody I deeply loved, and I didn't know how to help, and I felt helpless, and I didn't have a family to turn to other than I had children as well. So I think a lot of that fire was just like me.
I,
And I wasn't talking about it to anyone. I wasn't sharing what I was going through at home with anyone. I told maybe one person at the very end, like, I need some help, So I think a lot of that for me is it's a little bit of the same exchange with the person's hand on your back, is that you don't have to tell everybody what you're going through, but you can still move it, and you can still connect to that, and you can use that feeling of that unexpressed rage or that confusion, and you can put it on the fire of the thing and have it fuel you into that forward, so I think it was a little bit harder when we started.
yeah,
I just think it has a little bit more nuanced intelligence in it now, just through all of
sure,
the ways that I've
sure.
played.
I think we have similar backgrounds in the sense that I got into adulthood. It really wasn't until I had children that I realized I had the shittiest fucking toolkit on the planet.
Self-hate. Oh, you did it wrong, even though it had nothing to do with me. But it's really fun.
Uh, and having to shed
Yeah.
all of those really bad habits. And, come face to face with, I had two small children at the time. I have four now, but my oldest daughter and second oldest daughter, they're, 2 and 3 years old. And I was a very short fused person, which I don't like to admit, but I just was. That was my tool quick kit. You get frustrated and you just purge. There's very little control. And so I developed an emotional toolkit in the class, literally developed an emotional toolkit. So you can get that too. I wonder if you could put those in a box.
Sometimes it's as straightforward as learning impulse control, right? Because what I hear you saying is you have two small children and you're overwhelmed and it comes out of your mouth, right? I mean, that's what happens. You're human, and I can't tell you how many times I lose my shit on my kids, and I'm not proud of it, but I do check myself. I can feel the feeling. I can notice that the tension's building. I'll start to use words like, I'm going to take a break right now and I'll be back in 20 minutes, because that makes you feel better later, right? It's like the guilt.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So But I say to my girls a lot too, I will if something like if I lost my temper or, I don't go into that world of like saying cruel things to them, which is a lot of what I experienced growing up, just very cruel, cruel things.
Right.
So at least feel like I'm not going for me. I'm like, okay, I'm winning a little bit, but it's so human, it's a lot. And my girls are
Yeah.
teenagers now, but I will go back and I will make amends and I will say, this is how you must have experienced it, and I'm sorry. And what I say to them all the time, which especially when they say it to each other, I think it's so funny when somebody's like, "Oh, go say sorry to somebody," and if you don't mean it, what does that even do? You're teaching somebody that you can just use words and it
Yeah.
doesn't have any truth. So I always say sorry means nothing unless you change your behavior. So that's really what I track in myself. If I'm gonna say I'm sorry and I'm gonna work on this, then you have to, right? Because
Yep.
then it's in a pattern. But yeah, I mean, our toolkit is very important. And I think like step one is like notice the feeling and start to breathe. It's like that's literally the class. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go through, we have two more things. We're going to go through the rest of our musicians quickly.
Okay, good. Let's do that. Are they all men?
No, we're not. I added women.
Good.
Hot, 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 hot.
Sexy, sexy, sexy.
Okay, last was
I've always had a little bit of a thing for musicians.
apparently.
Kind of funny because Jim James was my one hall pass that I had for my ex-husband.
Oh, really? Anything happened, or do you want to keep that
And
to
I was
yourself?
introduced to a pandemic and we were talking a bunch and I was like, wait, this is weird. Like, I'm not doing the musician. It's not.
Oh, that's very funny. Okay, so Gracie and Rachel.
Oh, the Theoric.
That's nice. Leaf Volleback.
It's the same thing. He operates in that. He's just like he's like a gentle wizard.
Mhm.
That's 2 words. All
You're a wizard. I'm convinced. Um,
wizards.
you are such a wizard.
It's the word I use all the time to my
Uh,
boyfriend. Like, oh, she's a wizard. He's a wizard.
This artist, I mean, he's probably been around for years, but I just heard it on your Sway playlist that I love on Spotify. The Bones of J.R. Jones.
Love, 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 love. My boyfriend introduced me to that band. Yeah, that is just like deep heart. It makes you
Literally
like,
my
why do
heart.
I feel like I have a broken heart right now and I don't?
No.
I have a broken heart.
Why do I really want to have sex with someone
Yeah,
right
totally.
now? And
Yeah.
I need a boyfriend.
Yeah. I need somebody really sexy with a beard right now here.
I have no one to
Guitar. Yeah, I know. It's a thing.
thing. Stevie Nicks.
Oh my God. She is uh my spirit animal. That's not one word. What do I think of
Love
with her? She's
that.
just like,
Ugh.
no, I don't know why. I'm usually a word person. I'm having a hard time with words because I want to say that she's a wizard as well. Sorcerer.
She is. She
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
So you're not off. Sinead O'Connor.
Beauty,
I know.
you know, in all the sense of that word.
Everything. Every time I hear one of her songs, I just say to her, "You were right
Yeah.
about all of it." Like,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah. And she didn't give a shit. She was like, and you look back on what she was up to and speaking about and moving, it was really brave. And she's so inspiring because it was like, we live in a different world where everybody's canceled no matter what you say. So it's just like, but back then that was like to have somebody speak up in the way that she was really great.
Powerful
Yeah.
and brave. And heartbreaking that she was so abused from everyone, from growing up to adults in life that knew she was just. I remember a reporter asked her post Saturday Night Live, like why did you why did you offend all of these people? And her simple answer was, I didn't want to offend anyone. And she didn't. it wasn't to piss anyone off. It was just like, hey, this is what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And offending, it's like if it's offending somebody, it's not necessarily your work. If your intention comes from your honesty and your heart, and if it offends people, that's their work, and that's a lot of what it is. You rub up against somebody's structure and belief system, and then they shame you because that's the name of the game. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's what people do. Try to like make you smaller so you don't rub up against their own code of beliefs.
A really important lesson I learned in the class was if someone had something, like my husband, for example, if he said something negative about something that I was doing or where I was going, I started to understand that it wasn't my problem, that it was his problem with whatever I was doing. And I just had to kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other. I love him very much with all of my heart. That was just, personal marital problem that we had.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And that's the key to a lot of it. We personalize so much that if somebody gives us something and they say, like, you should be ashamed of yourself or you shouldn't do this, feel into the energy behind those words. Is it because it's activating something in them? They want you to be a certain way. Is it codependency? Is it like a mesh? Like, who knows? But, and that energy of like depersonalizing it, it's actually their stuff. It feels sometimes almost like avoidant, but it's not. And they're like, oh, it's their stuff. But you have to like separate it out enough sometimes, get far enough away from it to be able to realize that. And then we want to go and tell them why they're wrong or what they're doing, right? And then
I
you're
don't
in
want to fight with anyone. I really don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I just use the word okay a lot when I'm talking to somebody who I know like just wants to be heard and tell me what to do. I just say, okay.
I
Okay.
know, I do
That's
that.
literally on text.
I,
It
I do that.
goes away.
There's just some you realize, and I know when if I do say something, it's going to be pointless anyway.
Oh,
So why bother?
yeah. Okay.
Um,
I love you. Thank you for sharing. It's like that.
Florence and the Machine,
Magic.
total magic, total magic. Eminem,
Fierce.
like that. You played this yesterday, and I was so happy. Cypress Hill. It's kind of like a group, but Cypress Hill.
Oh, one word.
I know.
I mean, all I could think of is hits from the bong. So I'm
I
like,
was just gonna say.
so nervous. I love that song. I used to play it when I was in high school all the time. And like I thought
You
I was
both. Like
cool. I was
the
like,
intro
yeah.
is just literally the water bubbling in.
So I want to say, I don't know. I don't know how to, I don't know how to like PC say what I was going to say.
Oh God,
I think their music is just fun, honestly. It's like, it just gets you in a mood. Uh,
absolutely.
what did
And
I,
it gives you their experience.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Sophie Tucker.
Um, I think she's just sassy, spicy, funky. Um,
Angie McMahon.
who?
Angie McMahon.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head.
She just did that leaf cover with Take Me to the Limit. Take It to the Limit.
I know the name, but I can't place this. The
You do.
see.
Mallory did a collaboration with her. Am I messing up the name?
Angie McMahon. Oh,
Am I messing up the name?
oh, I have it right here. I could play it, but pass.
And Maggie Rogers.
Oh, I mean, she's like a mini Stevie next to me. Mini Stevie.
Stevie, I like that. And Michael Kiwanuka.
Oh God. Um, his music is just so beautiful.
I know you bring it all to the space. These are all artists from your playlists.
He's like I want to say for all of them, like they're all to me, they're all connected to source. They're channeling spirit through their music.
I
And that's a lot of what we talk about in the teacher training is if you wouldn't hang out with that artist for what they represent, or not even represent, but what they're sharing, I should say, then
express.
don't play their music. Yeah. So you can usually feel it, when they're bringing something through.
I feel
Um,
like the source is also your spirit.
yes. And where you are. And if you can, I think for artists, sometimes artists get stuck in a warp where if they had a huge heartbreak and then they just released an album and that album crushed it, then there's some energy that you have to like have a broken heart in order to create. And then
Mhm.
you get all this praise, about your music, and then it kind of like backfires on the wound that you're trying to heal and makes it so it's like sometimes I think that there's like a self-indulgence that happens with some artists that make people not necessarily well. It's not like a healing journey. It's like just kind of like let's just keep singing from a broken heart, from a broken heart. And I pay attention to that a little bit. Like I try to not bring too much music in that's just like very like heart kind of opening in a way that feels like somebody singing from grief. And if you're doing that, then it's balanced with maybe some symphony or there's something that has a little bit more of an up tempo or joy. But that's like the landscape of the tapestry of the class in its music. But most all those artists, I think, are just they're wizards.
They are, and I just want to add to that what all of these people have in common um, with you and with what you can kind of learn at the class is how to listen to your own heart and follow your own path. Just really get to know that voice inside of your head. Because if you listen to that voice, which is what I've learned to do, listen to that voice, you'll really start to move in a direction that's more in sync with who you are. And I think that's why we love this music. That's why we love taking the class. It's very true and very pure to who you are. It's not contrived. You're not trying to compete with anyone. You're not trying to get a certain number or achieve a certain result. Um, you just want people to heal. Like that's really simply how what I believe your intentions are. You're like, I needed a place to heal. I made it.
We'll see how long. We don't know.
So I made it. And everyone's welcome.
Come on over. I've always been like that. My sister, when I was growing up, she always says that, and it's true, that I always have what she called stragglers. Like I would go out for the afternoon and I would come back with a straggler. Like I'm always like, come on over. It's like full on, like it's not necessarily the best way to be, honestly. Sometimes you have to be discerning.
Think it is. And I think it's served you really well because you have a really open heart and you're just a good human being. And I believe you just want everybody to feel loved. Having not feel loved, having not loved yourself,
Yeah.
you recognize that other people feel that way too, and you just don't want them to feel that way either. Because it's such a terrible way to feel if you don't love yourself.
Yeah. It's not even that I don't want people to feel that way because I am aware of free will and I think everybody has to find their own path and some people's bottom is lower and higher than in others. It's that I have experienced myself the relief
Mhm.
of allowing some of these, you said voices in the head, and if you listen to it, I think that's the piece is like there are a lot of voices in the head. And if you're listening to an old voice or an inner young child of you that's having a temper tantrum and you don't give that voice love or that part love, that's when there's chaos, right? Then who's even driving the ship? So like you bring your adult self in. So it's the voices are like, which ones are they? Which one is old? Which one came from an experience? Which one, needs a little love? And I needed that. It doesn't mean everybody needs that. Not everybody has the same history, but I think that um, so it's not that, I necessarily want something out of it, but I'm sharing what has worked for me because of the relief that I have felt in myself. And that's really what I try to hold for people, like come on over, come go leave, like come or go. But, chances are that things will start to shift. And I also do think that there's sometimes when there's a time in your life when it's not the time to open, right? Sometimes it's time to close and go in and hibernate. And so that's the other piece that the class helps with sometimes, that like point of like reflection, like what is this that I need based on what I know about myself. Yeah.
Taryn Toomey, thank you so much for being here, for your open heart, for your honesty, for creating such a beautiful space where people can heal, people can have a good workout, meet incredible people. I hope as many people as possible sign up and do your class. You could probably attain peace on earth if everybody did the class. That I think pretty highly of you. So have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored. I couldn't appreciate your presence more.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Have a great day. Bye. Bye.
There are days when I'm like, don't ask me how I am because I only give honest answers. Sometimes it's just enough to be in your body. To be in your body. To be in your body. Hop it up.
Arguably, one of the things we want most in life is to be seen. But one of the hardest things is to let ourselves. Again, inhale. Open your mouth, exhale. Good, not about height, not about how big. What can you feel? And then can you be committed to living in that? What do I feel? What are you saying to me? How does that thought work out? Breathe. Center of the aisle. Y'all, these are the people making this shit happen. And all the people making it happen so they can make it happen. Yeah. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Let it go. Woo!
See how it feels when you just move to feel? No thought required. Just movement. Step it right to left. Single leg. Go right, left, right, left. Yep. Ask yourself, what do you need in this next hour? What's that feeling you've been searching for? And how's the movement gonna get you there?
And remember, this is temporary. Less than 3 minutes of your life is in this awkward position. But these 3 minutes can be so informative about how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, how you witness yourself.
And even with all that's here, sometimes we want to call something else in. So practice so simple today. Can I be here? Can I be right here? Can I feel my feet? Can I feel my hips? Can I feel all the space around me? Little hop. All of this, and still we want more. Maybe we need more, whatever it is. We're gonna use our bodies to open to it. Burpee option 1, land your feet. We squat, right leg, step, clear. Hips back, left foot, ha. Hips, step, ha. Can every step be some sort of declaration? Here's my body.